Hi and welcome to this month's Get to Know Our Staff interview. My name's Nina Cole. I'm Service User Involvement Volunteer based at Hyndburn and Rosendale. This week we're interviewing Matt Kay, who is our criminal justice worker based in Pendle. And with me is Will Daw. Do you want to introduce yourself, Will?
Sure, yeah. I'm Will Daw and I work at Burnley Inspire as a peer mentor.
Thank you. Matt, do you want to say a bit before we start?
Yeah, I'll just introduce myself. Hi guys, Matt Kay here. Like Nina said, I'm the criminal justice caseworker for Pendle and Ribble Valley. Good to be here, thank you.
Thank you, good to be here with you. So we've got a series of questions for you, Matt. First of all, I'm going to ask you about who Matt, the criminal justice worker, is. So what does a criminal justice worker do?
Yeah, criminal justice worker. Predominantly what my role involves is dealing with anyone who's got a criminal justice background for whatever reason. I have a caseload of service users. Some are prescribed opiate medication, others aren't. So it's quite a varied mixed caseload. What I think the main thing that I try and do is help these people get them where they need to be and want to be, working alongside probation, police, courts, housing, any other agencies that are involved. They're not all. Some of the drug and alcohol issues that they come to us can be difficult to kind of unpick. And by that, what I mean by that is not everyone believes that that drink and drugs is a problem. I think I'm going to probably touch on that a bit further on in a bit more detail. Taking on board what Inspire and CGL's sort of values and stuff, you've got to be flexible when you're a criminal justice caseworker. Like I said before, I touched on before, that some of the people can be a bit resistant to coming to treatment. So you've got to be flexible. You've got to be quite tenacious in following up. With it being a criminal justice system, note-taking, note-keeping, record, data management is important, because some of the things that we have to be able to show to the probation offender managers if people have been attending or not, and sometimes we have to show evidence of the work that I've been carrying out, and some of our PSI workers if the people are engaging in groups and stuff. Working partnerships, a multidisciplinary approach. So working partnership, like I said before, sometimes with social services. So there's a lot of aspects of the criminal justice worker. It's really interesting. It's really varied. No 2 days are the same. But ultimately, the main focus is to help people that come into Inspire to complete whatever requirements have been set by the courts.
Brilliant. Thank you for that, man. So what motivated you to work in drug and alcohol services?
What motivated me? I mean, I'll be honest with you. I have first-hand experience of addiction and subsequent recovery. I'm in my 11th year of continued abstinence and recovery now. It's going to sound strange, but coming from a former car salesman working in the insurance industry, you kind of think the shift from doing that into helping people. But yeah, I started with an organisation. I mean, I'm sure you guys have heard of it, Smart Recovery. Started facilitating smart recovery groups in my hometown. Me and a pal of mine kind of both got the message around about the same time. So we were running and facilitating the smart recovery group where we live, and I was asked by one of my key workers back in the day from my local drug and alcohol team, would I be able to go to a detox unit over in West Yorkshire just to give a talk to the clients what Smart Recovery was all about. So then I bowled over to West Yorkshire, gave this talk for an hour or so to a group of clients in a rehab. I'd never been to a detox unit. I'd never been to a detox unit in my life before. And then from that, the centre manager asked me, would I like to come back and do it every week, and he'd pay for me fuel. So I thought, well, yeah, we could do this. So I was kind of facilitating the groups in my hometown and doing this kind of volunteering. And then he said, would I like to go to work there as bank support work in the detox unit? So I kind of thought, like, well, I'm not working, so bank support work turned into full-time support worker. And then I moved from the detox unit I moved a bit nearer to where I live and went to a rehab in Lancashire as a support worker, and then decided to get some education around sort of counselling and therapy. Really, really liked it. To use some of my own experience of what I'd been through, but also be able to help others. And then it's kind of snowballed from there, and I've been working consistently in this area now since 2000 and end of 2010 it was when I first been a bank support worker back in the day in Bradford. So yeah, I think it's seeing the change in people and having the belief that everyone's got within them. Everyone has the ability to change, whether it's addiction focused or not. Everyone's got the ability to get out of that. But what some people find most daunting is the fear of what comes next. The fear of recovery can keep a lot of people stuck. So what I found is that if I can help somebody, just sort of help them out of that hole they're in and enable them to feel a bit better about themselves, give them that bit of self-belief, that bit of self-confidence, that bit of empowerment, a bit of autonomy, just to listen sometimes is the best tool that I've got, is just to listen to somebody. And seeing that change, that's what gets me out of bed in the morning, is coming into work or coming into the home office, depending on the circumstances, and just like I said, just helping people to become the best version of themselves.
That is brilliant. Thank you, Matt, for that. I'm going to hand you over to Will now, who's going to ask you some more questions.
Hi, Will.
Hi, thank you, Nina. So I'd like to ask you a few questions on who is Matt the person. So the first question I'd like to ask is, what are your likes and dislikes of life?
Okay, the main one, for those that know me, will probably laugh if you see this part. I do like tidiness. I have and it's quite funny that my desk seems to be all in like right angles. And people will say, "Oh, you've got OCD." In my mind, it's not. It's just a decent way to organise and order. But the same kind of appears at home as well. I do like to know where things are, and I'll be honest with you, and I do get frustrated when stuff isn't where it should be or where I've left it, if that makes sense. Which leads me on to the dislikes. Being disorganised. And other dislikes outside of the home. Just inconsiderate people is one of my dislikes. I can't understand how people can just appear to be so inconsiderate towards others.
Brilliant, thank you for that. And the second question is, what are your hobbies, if you have any?
I do, actually, yeah. And I sound all surprised there. But a couple of years ago, I was given the challenge of doing a park run. And I can remember it like it was yesterday. It was about -7, and it was in Oldham. And I'd never run. I used to tell people I hate running. Absolutely detested running. I was rubbish at cross country at school. So my friend, he said, I'm doing it, so you are too. And I thought, well, you know what? What's the worst that can happen? It was -7, it was sleet and snow. A guy ran past me with snow on his beard. And I did it in 47 minutes for a 5K. Couldn't walk for about 4 days after. And then I rang him up and I said, I'm not doing that ever again. Needless to say, the Sunday after, we're back at Oldham again. And I did it in about 44 minutes. But for some weird reason, drive home after that second one, I thought, yeah, it's all right, this. I actually enjoyed it more. So I took up running. I've done, I want to say loads. I've done a lot of 5K runs. I run for fun. A lot of people won't be able to understand how run and fun can go together. But I do a lot of running. I try and get sponsored from my friends and family, but we do ones that, so like Southport 5K, the Wilmslow Winter Challenge, Blackpool Night Run, the Run for Old Bury 10K, done the Trafford 10K, so Aintree one. So yeah, I like to get out and about a bit, do a bit of running. Not done as much as I wanted to over lockdown, which had the perfect excuse to run, but didn't. I go to the gym. got a good passion about music. I was talking to a friend of mine yesterday, and he said, like, what kind of music you listen? I thought, well, I listen to absolutely anything from jazz to Public Enemy, so it doesn't really matter. Salsa music, I'm not anything.
Brilliant.
And the main one right now is cooking. Since lockdown started, I've kind of been more mindful around cooking meals and not just throwing it all together and seeing what happens, but being aware of almost trying to be a chef, if that makes sense. You know, like the processes, and I've learned so much that I used to just chuck everything in a frying pan and just off you go. But about the stages in which you put things in, and it's real, and I take great pleasure and enjoyment in producing decent food. So yeah, they're my four: running, gym, music, and cooking.
Brilliant, fantastic. And the next question is, what's your friendship with your dog?
Right.
What's that all about?
I know, and I would like to know the person who put that question down. However, those that know me, we've got one left, but he's called Rocky. He's a black and white staffy, and he's literally my best mate. Since I've been working from home, he wants to come into we have like an outside office. He wants to come in every day. However, he's not your best office dog because he wants to mess about. So when I have to kick him out into the house, he doesn't like it, and he sits at the French windows and just basically like cries. So we had Rocky and Rocky's brother, and anyway, we had to let go of Rocky's brother last year, and so and he's literally just like a piece of Velcro on my leg, and he just follows me all around the house. And me and him get on, and I'm sure that he is my best mate in a nutshell. Especially working from home. I mean, I'm home quite a lot now, so he literally like wants to do everything, like come and sit next to me, share my lunch, you know. So yeah, he's pretty cool.
I explained it. Sounds lovely. Finally, have you any special talents? Maybe something that you've discovered during lockdown?
You know, yeah, I think the special talent, it was a tough one because I was kind of thinking, can I do card tricks, or can I sort of dislocate my thumb and put it back together again? You know, that kind of question. But then I thought, well, let's simplify it. I'm actually going to call myself a chef, but I don't want to brag. But I'm actually quite proud of what I'm like in the kitchen.
Brilliant.
So, and it's if you wanted to know what my signature dish would be, it sounds quite boring, but chicken chow mein with soft noodles.
Oh, my favourite. Absolutely love it.
I can bash that out of the park now, not a problem.
Brilliant. Thank you. Right, I'll hand you back over to Nina. Thanks very much for that. Thank you.
Thanks, Will. I think an invite might be in order there, Matt. After lockdown, definitely. Okay, I'm going to ask you about service user experience now.
Okay.
The next question is, what are your biggest challenges in your role?
One of the biggest challenges in my role as a criminal justice caseworker is resistance to entering treatment. There are a cohort of clients who have been quite open with me and said, if I hadn't got caught, I wouldn't be talking to you today. It's basically that it's not their choice to come into treatment. They have to come into treatment because if they don't, there's a consequence. So the biggest challenge, and this was quite new to me when I took on the role of criminal justice worker, because the other incarnates of where I've worked, so people in detox and rehabs, people have actually wanted to come. You know, they've actually said at some point in their life, I need some help, please help me, and then they come in. So you can always work with that. But when you're actually either face-to-face or more often than not on the telephone now, when you're actually with someone that has said to you, this is pointless, you know, I'm only here to tick a box. That's your biggest challenge, because there's a barrier gone up, and it's almost like you have to spend quite a lot of time working with that resistance in order to get the story. And I've been described as a bit of a pain because I keep asking questions, you know, and I keep saying, look, okay, I hear what you're saying, asking questions, trying to get to know the story behind why the person's been there, trying to get to know the person I think once you do that, it builds up a level of trust, and there's called the therapeutic relation, and it builds that up. And once they kind of, more often than not, they realise, you know, he's actually all right if I can work with him, because the order's not going to go anywhere. So I normally say, well, I can't magic it away. So let's work. We have to work together. So let's try and make the best of it, and let's see where we go. And the change that you sometimes get is mind blowing. From absolute resistance, I don't want to be here, to actually, you know, thank you very much, in the space of sort of 9, 12 months or something, can be quite amazing to experience.
That's fantastic, Matt. Thank you. So, if that's your challenges, what would you consider to be your biggest successes in your role?
Probably just answered it with the back end of that question. Seeing the shift in the belief with some of the clients after they've started the journey with me or us, and about how they start to think differently, realise that actually, you know what, I might have a problem with drink or drugs. I used to think it was all right. They start to realise that actually not offending or not getting themselves into trouble is a lot less hard work, because they've got less to run away from and less to hide. And they've got a few more quid in their pocket, or they've started to build the relationships back up with the family, or you might get a text message out of the blue saying, you know, thanks for ringing me yesterday. You know, so that kind of stuff. So I think it's about planting the seed with some, that there may be an alternative, and then allowing that, or almost watering that seed that you've planted and allowing that person to nurture it themselves. And then at the end of it, they must look back on their treatment journey and thought, well, it wasn't what I expected, and it was actually a better outcome.
Yeah, that's brilliant, that is. So, given your current job, what would be your ideal vision for service users, and how far do you think we are from that vision?
Nice question. Ideally, for me, from a criminal justice perspective, it would be working towards breaking down the barriers to recovery, and also stigma in the community with the service users. To do my bit to help those with a criminal background, to maybe be able to stand with the shoulders back and the chest pushed out with the head, with the chin up, with a bit of self-esteem and a bit of credit, to build a bit more credibility back in the community, because you absorb a lot of their stories. And and it's one thing I've missed with lockdown, is not being able to see my service users and my clients that much, because what you tend to find, they all kind of like stoop down. It's almost like they're looking towards the floor. And I'm thinking to myself, if that's like a subconscious or body language with me, then they must be reproducing that in the community, that they can't walk around because their face might be known in the local area, that, oh, he's this or he's that, or she's this or she's that. And it can be a heavy cross to carry. So I think my vision would be, if we can look at rebuilding credibility, try and break down those barriers, try and smash that stigma that, you know, it's not once a criminal, always a criminal, that these people actually have, you know, there's a human being, there's a person in there, there's someone's son, someone's daughter, someone's uncle, brother, auntie, uncle, whatever. And also that the wider community, that when I use the word we, I said we need to take some ownership in maybe giving that stigma a bit of power, that actually, you know what, we can judge the crime the person's committed, but we haven't looked at the story behind it of why that person. And that's where I'm more interested in, is the why somebody does what they've done, or does what they do present, or did what they did past tense. It's to why did he do that? If I can help somebody see the pros and cons of their behaviours and then make some positive changes, then maybe it's about empowerment and autonomy for me. The answer to the question, how far do you think we are from it? We're certainly not fully there yet, but I do believe that it's work in progress, and I'm certainly up for the challenge.
Fantastic. Thank you for that, Matt. I'm going to hand you back to Will for the next section.
Brilliant. Thank you, Nina. So I'm going to ask you a few questions on COVID-19, if I may.
Of course.
So So the first one, it's been a difficult time for us all during the lockdown period, as we know. How have you and your team responded and adapted to the changes?
So how have our team responded and adapted? Really well. I'm going to sit here and say hand on heart, we have adapted as a team really, really well. I can remember like it was yesterday when the lockdown sort of really kicked in and became quite real for us as a team. And we'd gone from a very sort of a together team. We're all, we're all in the same office, in the same building. There was that camaraderie, the togetherness, that connection that we had. And then suddenly it was just like a COVID-style bomb's gone underneath it, and we've all gone home, in a nutshell. And I think I said it in a couple of meetings. I said, there will be an ending to this at some point. So it's a question of we have to change how we work. We're limiting contact with clients. It's done on the telephone, so there's these more digital interventions. And if you'd have asked me 3 years ago, when COVID was a mere pipe dream, can you ever see a time when you'll be having clients on WhatsApp video calls? You'll be able to do medical reviews on Teams, stuff like that. When you're doing a lot more telephone digital work, doing a flash meeting on Teams. I remember the first one. Everyone was like, "No cameras are on,"
Yeah.
But now, I just had a conversation with one of my co-workers just before, and it was like, it actually feels normal. It feels normal to log in and, cameras on. We're connecting not just in structured meetings, but outside of meetings. There's a quick Teams call or a Skype call or a Zoom call or a check-in or a chat box or something like that. So us as a team, we ultimately we adapted well. It wasn't seamless, but grabbing onto these different ways of working and discovering new skills about ourselves as we are. You've got to work. You have to work. You don't work harder per se, but you work a lot smarter now. You've got to think outside the box, and you've got to really tailor your interventions to the clients themselves.
Fantastic. Thank you for that. So, what have you done to relax during COVID?
I'm going to be totally honest with you. Lockdown and COVID for me was a bit of a godsend, because I've watched more telly, but I actually quite like my own company now. So it's been all right to be. But the thing is that with COVID-19, it gives you the perfect excuse to not allow people to come round. It's not me, it's COVID.
Yeah.
So you never feel bad. If you don't want anyone to come round, you just go out. You can't. You're not allowed because we're in tier 3. Thank you very much. I'll see you next year. So that's been all right. But I finally got some value for money from a gym membership, because rather than just driving past the gym, making sure that my X amount of money every month was keeping it going when the gym was open, I've actually started going back as well.
Fantastic.
So when you say relax and going to the gym, it's good for my own mental health.
Brilliant.
Thank you. And walking, I better mention walking the dog as well.
Super. So what have you learned about yourself during these testing times?
Out of them all, that was the one question that I really struggled with. And I don't know why, because I think it was because I was trying to find an answer for all the questions. But what have I learned about myself during these testing times? The answer I could come up with is I'm a lot more resilient than I thought I was. And the work that I've done on myself coming through addiction and into recovery has really, I've reaped the benefits of it. A lot of patience, doing a lot more listening, realising that actually, you know what, it is a pandemic, a global pandemic, and everyone reacts and responds to it in their own way, whether it's how I would expect them to or how I would. And having the ability to sit back and go, you know what, actually, unless it's dangerous, that's just what they're doing. So becoming more patient.
Brilliant. Thank you very much for that. I'll hand you back to Nina. Thank you.
Thanks, Will. Hi, Matt again. Okay,
Hi.
I've got some questions from service users.
Oh, yes.
And I've got a couple of surprise ones that you don't know about as well.
What?
No, but they're nice questions. These are from staff, the ones you don't know about. So we'll start with the ones from service users first. Okay.
Right.
So if you were a comic book hero, who would you be and why?
Okay. 2 came to mind when I was thinking about this. Sorry, 3. So what I'd like to do is design my own comic book hero and would be a hybrid model of Thor, Iron Man, and the Flea.
Okay, and why?
Well, because if you were the Flea, you could go really, really small, but you'd be dead strong. And you'd also, and Thor's got that other sort of world miles away, and his brother makes me laugh, Loki, as well, so that'd be all right. So you'd be like a really, really clever and innovative and ingenious chap as Iron Man with a load of money. You'd be able to go to like other places in the universe as Thor and be dead strong, but you'd also be able to go dead small as well if you needed to.
Fantastic answer, I love that. That is great. Thank you. On a slightly more serious note, who is your hero and why are they your hero?
There's only one person I could put as my hero, and that's my dad. And he'd go absolutely mental if he heard me say that, because he's the most. He doesn't like stuff like like being bigged up and stuff. But I have to say, yeah, it's my dad, and being utterly serious. And I mean this from the bottom of my heart, that without his support when I was at my worst, I really don't think I'd be able to do what I do today without him being there. Despite all the hell and heartache and everything that I threw at him, he just was always constant. And when I say it like that, I do actually get a bit, filled up inside. And it's actually because sometimes I say, would I be here today even? I've got to look at it like that. I have to be totally honest with you that, he did a hell of a lot. And since I've come out of that madness and kind of like, created a career, a massive career change from what I was doing and everything like that, he's when people say like my dad's my best mate, but no, he's like my number one. And me and him can be totally honest with each other because he's seen me at my worst and I've helped him through some pretty dark times that he's gone through as well. So that relationship is absolutely cool. So yeah, he is my hero.
That's beautiful. Thank you, Matt, for that. I'm going to hand you back to Will for a
Thank you, Nina.
User questions.
Thank you. So this is a bit of a long-winded question, but in what time frame does an inmate in prison get seen, assessed, and a care plan put in place with CGL for their release from prison? And the second part is the relationship between probation and CGL with regards to confidentiality.
Okay. With regards to the, if I can answer the second one first. Confidentiality is a really, really important aspect of treatment. And you could argue that confidentiality with any kind of engagement or involvement with professional services is of the utmost importance, and I totally get it. With regards to confidentiality, specifically with probation, it's difficult to answer in one sentence, but if there are some people that have involvement with probation when they don't have, there is no need for Inspire to share any information with probation, if that makes sense. So they could work with probation and come to us they could self-refer to Inspire if they wanted to. So from that is the consent is gained. I would love it to be gained in written form, but verbal consent is gained as well. There are certain caveats to that, though, that with regards to certain specific orders, so if somebody's on an alcohol treatment requirement or a DRR order, then consent would be kind of implied anyway. So we would have to share the information. But it's reviewed. I review it quite frequently anyway, because consent can with consent and confidentiality. Yeah, so we do focus on that a lot. If we don't need to share anything, or if it's at the client's request, unless we have to share.
Brilliant. There's just a little bit more to answer that question. So what is the support for the family once PACT is finished with them?
Well, with PACT, that's the Prison Advisory Care Trust. So, with terms of family support, we have FACT, which is Families and Carers Together. Within, and Debbie Garrett's the person for that one. So, if anyone comes into treatment with me and there's a need identified, or it's offered anyway, that there is extra support for the families and young people, and that's through FACT, not PACT. FACT, the Families and Carers Together. So there is a range of support that's out there for the families of people who have a historical criminal justice involvement. So that's a really good resource, and that's one that I feel should be promoted more anyway. But going back to your first part of the question is how soon, time frame wise. I've built up some pretty good working relationships with the various sort of more popular prisons, the ones that predominantly the service users that come to treatment. So if somebody's currently inside prison, we will get an alert sent through to us anyway. So we're already aware of a client coming back to the Pendle or Ribble Valley area. We're also made aware if that person's prescribed opiate substitute therapy inside anyway. So we can make arrangements for the prescription continuation on that. Sometimes we get copies of the release care plan. So we've actually got a lot of information. We know the GP, we know the last known address, we've got telephone numbers, we know when they're coming out. So what we can do is when we can offer a prison release appointment direct to the prisoner's own substance misuse worker, say it's Preston or Lancaster Farms or Style, Liverpool or Altcourse or wherever they may be, we can offer that. And so on the day of release, so we offer that appointment within 24 hours. If the client is prescribed opiates, it's a face-to-face appointment when we actually get to see them. And then we can then start to put in place a mutually convenient time that if it's going to have to be done digitally or with sort of COVID secure policies and practicing PPE in place, we could see somebody if we had to, if they were high risk. But then we would then make an appointment for the initial triage and then the full assessment. And from that full assessment, we get the risk management plan, risk assess, the care plan with the client, the client-focused care plan will be put in place. We aim to have that done. I aim to have that done within a week of release.
Brilliant. Thank you very much for that. And finally, do you have dealings with the Youth Justice Board and young offenders?
No, we're an adult service, so the youth offending team would pick up anything around that anyway.
Brilliant. Thank you very much.
For the question.
Thank you. I'll hand you back to Nina.
Right.
Aye.
Are these the ones from staff?
I've got two questions, well, sort of two questions for you. So the first one, earlier on you mentioned that you love food and cooking.
Yes.
So it's a statement, you love to eat.
I do.
Start with, yeah.
Yeah.
What's the maximum number of donuts you've had in one sitting?
12.
That's quite good effort.
Yeah.
How long ago was that?
It was last year. I think it was around September. 12.
Are we talking ring donuts or are we talking jammies?
Well, if you want, my all-time record was 2 6-packs of Greggs ones, but not the ring ones. I'm talking like the custard ones, cream ones, chocolate ones, the ones with jam in the middle, ones that were covered with sprinkles on. I once did 12.
That's an impressive
Yeah.
effort. Wow.
Well, I could do 5 of the ones from Morrison's in 5-10 minutes. Easy.
So following on from that, how do you manage to eat so much but still stay so fit?
Somebody I used to work with was convinced I had a tapeworm, right? Which is disgusting, I know. However, ever since I've been about 22, I've ate absolutely loads of like ridiculous amounts of food. And ever since I was about 22, ever since, wait till you're 25, got to 25, nothing changed. Wait till you're 30, got to 30, nothing. Wait till you're 35, nothing. 40, nothing. I'm in my 40s, I'm not going to give it away too much, but yeah, I've never really been over 13 stone. I'm about 12 stone 3 at the moment. So yeah, it's annoying to some people.
Yeah. I could see how
Sorry,
that.
it is, but yeah.
Okay, so you love music. You've already mentioned that you're quite an eclectic sort of choice in music. We've heard that you have good taste. So if you had to choose a favourite East 17 song, what would it be?
It's got to be Stay Another Day, hasn't it?
Is it?
That's
quite a good choice. I like that.
Yeah, it's just for the white suits.
Of course, yeah. So it's not necessarily the music; it's the look.
It's the look, and it's the kind of white suit. Yeah, definitely.
Loving that. That's fantastic. It's been absolutely awesome talking to you today, Matt.
Yeah.
Do you have any final words you want to give to our service users before I read something special out for you?
I think it's overall, if we consider what 2020 has been like for all, and I mean absolutely all, there's no one that I don't think's been touched by it in some shape or form. One thing I will say is that, you know, I have felt proud of the resilience that the majority of the service users have shown. I've been really, really impressed and proud. What I would say is stay strong, stay safe. There will come a point when this ends and we have some kind of relative normality back. So whatever you're going through right now today, just be aware that it will have an end at some point. If you can, just stay connected. If you can, just do what's required. We will get through this. We'll get through it together. You're not on your own. You don't have to suffer in silence.
Brilliant. The final thing I want to read to you, this is in the service user's own words, and I've left it till last because if I was you, it will make me cry, so I don't want to ask you to speak after.
Well, people have called me the Iceman. We'll see if it melts.
This might change that. Are you ready? Okay.
Yeah, go on.
Hi, Matt, it's Katie. I'm taking this opportunity, as I didn't get a proper one due to COVID restrictions, to say the biggest thank you for the last 12 months. I came to you, a very lost soul, and you helped me find a new me. A me that I am now happier than I have ever been with. You've guided me through some really tough times, both personally and with other agencies. You came along with nothing but professional positivity, someone on my side, and your feedback helped me to get to where I am now. I approached you with some things not in your job role, and as I didn't know where else to turn, but you did your best to find me answers. Always there with your listening ears, someone who properly listened. Also, those P tests. Those blinking P tests, well, no more, Matt, and never again. Welcome the new fingerprint thingy tests, thank the Lord. If you really, truly want the help, then Matt's your man. Hope to see you around with the new volunteering skills. We've already asked her a question. She asked you about being a superhero. So that was from one of your service users, Katie. She just wanted to say thank you. So,
for once, I'm a bit speechless.
I thought you might.
Yeah. I'll have to digest that, but yeah, that's beautiful words.
Thank you. Yeah. So for myself, thank you for coming and letting us interview you today.
Oh, you're all right.
Obviously, from service users, thank you for everything you do for us. Will, anything you want to say?
Yeah, I'd just like to say thank you very much for such an honest interview, Matt. And I think we can all agree that we all know a bit more about what a CJ worker does now. So thank you very much.
Thanks, Will. Good to meet you, fella.
Yeah, and you too.
All right.
Thank you.